Well, what should we smoke?
Well, I think we need to hit the Trinidad, if you don't mind.
Beautiful choice.
The Fundador is quite special. It's incredibly elegant and refined, and I think a perfect reflection of my company this afternoon.
You're too kind. It's a beautiful, elegant format, so
May
it would
I
be a
cut
pleasure.
that for you?
Please. You know, I haven't smoked very many Trinidad, so this could indeed be my first. I'm not sure.
I hope you enjoy that. I'm going to use a guillotine cut for this. I've become quite fond of a V cut in recent times, but in this ring gauge, a guillotine I think is probably the best. A bullet cut would work as well, but we'll go with a guillotine. May I light it for you?
Please.
We're indoors, so we have the luxury of matches. Good cigar matches are, I think, the nicest way to light a cigar. But if you're outside, you'll probably need to rely on a jet flame. I always get 2 or 3 ready because a good cigar might take 2 or 3 matches to light.
And so how do you light a cigar? What is the best?
The key is to use something that doesn't create an aroma.
Okay.
So don't use a Zippo, paraffin. Anything else can work, including matches. You'll note that I'm bringing the tip of the flame to the cigar. This is the hottest part of the flame. And I'm just toasting it up. I'm getting it going. You don't want to scorch the cigar with a really super hot flame unless you absolutely have to.
And so initially you're waiting for the sulfur at the tip of the match to fully burn before you bring it to the cigar, again to avoid contaminating the tobacco with any type of foreign aroma.
Exactly right. That's a very good point. Even with cigar matches, they will have sulfur, of course, at the end. You let that burn off. The wood of the match as well, non-odorous. Of course, Davidoff is careful with that, and most cigar matches will use non-odorous wood.
What about cedar cigars? I've seen some cedar cigars marketed for...
Cedar splints and so on, yeah. Cedar is a very sympathetic, perhaps, material for lighting and storing cigars. The aroma doesn't interfere with the cigar, and people do sometimes use old cedar dividers from cigar boxes to light their cigars. Perfectly fine. You see I'm blowing on the end. And we're lit around the periphery.
But not in the center.
Not in the center yet. So we'll use the third match to get that up and running.
Part of the ritual of lighting a cigar.
It takes us right back, I think, to our sort of caveman ancestors. We all love a good flame. It brings out the meditative, peaceful side of, I think, our natures.
So as you blow on it, you're making sure that, or kind of checking to make sure that the entire cigar is in fact lit.
Indeed. And this is, and I hope the first draw for you will be as enjoyable as it's been for me lighting it.
Beautiful. Thank you. You're going to join me, right?
I will, with pleasure. I'm not very good at resisting temptation.
The hazard of the profession, I suppose. Taste and find cigars.
Kirby, you know a lot about my smoking enjoyment. I would love to know what brought you into cigars. What was your first experiences and enjoyment of a cigar?
Oh, it's a good question. I mean, I think, to me it always just kind of went along with, kind of the finer gentleman pursuits. I mean, enjoying nice clothing, a nice scotch, a nice cigar. The more I started smoking, I think what I enjoy most is the great conversation that comes along with a good cigar. I mean, if I'm ever smoking a cigar, either I'm doing one of two things. Either I'm working or I'm in good company. And so what I love about a cigar is I find it more than anything else is a commitment to time, right? So if we're going to light a nice cigar, we're kind of committed to spending some time together, and or at least enjoying one's time. And that's one of the reasons I find myself that I prefer some of the longer formats. You know, if I'm going to smoke, it's going to be an occasion. You know, I don't ever have a quick smoke.
I think that's absolutely right. I think for all of us cigar smokers, we're carving out a piece of our day and a bit of our time. This is really our excuse.
Yes.
And I don't know if it's the same for you. I do almost all my smoking in good company.
Absolutely.
Very rarely is it solo, no?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly prefer to smoke in good company, there's no question. I mean, I often say that I never smoke one cigar, I smoke two cigars. The cigar I'm smoking and the cigar I brought along for a friend. You know, it's one of the obligations of being someone that enjoys cigars as much as we do is really, you know, the privilege of sharing those with good friends.
You know, while we're smoking, a question I get asked quite often is, what do I do if a cigar goes out?
Okay.
Which may well happen in the course of our smoking. My advice is always, in the period of smoking, no problem. You can relight the cigar. Easier to relight if you brush the ash off the tip, gently against the edge of the ashtray. If you can, you keep the ash on the cigar as long as possible because that keeps it lit much longer than it would without the ash. But if you must relight, no problem. Beyond a few hours, the stale taste of the cigar can become obstructive. And certainly overnight, if you've had a cigar, probably not a great idea to finish it in the morning.
Even a few hours after it goes out, I find that it never smokes the same.
I agree.
Any tips? I've got a friend that says that his father would, if he knew that he had to put his cigar down for a little bit, would blow out to force any smoke out of the cigar, and then he would put it in a tube and close it, and it would suffocate the cigar and smother the flame. You ever tried that?
Not for extinguishing, but certainly for what's called purging, which is blowing out of the cigar before you stop smoking it. I do agree with that wisdom. It seems to push out any of the latent, the burnt flavor that you'd get in the cigar. I don't know whether putting it in the tube would make much difference to how it'll taste in an hour or two. But it's one to try, perhaps.
Yeah, well, his father swore by it, so he would often smoke half of a cigar at night and finish it in the morning. But I prefer to finish my cigars.
I agree with you. Hence why you have so many different sizes and shapes.
Yeah.
You know, you really try and pick the cigar that suits not just what you feel like, but the time you have.
So how does cigar collectors, I mean, I'm sure you deal with a lot of collectors here. How do they approach, you know, their collecting? I mean, do they just develop an affinity towards one brand like I have in many ways with Bolivar, or a particular format, or even a specific cigar? Or do you have some gentlemen that just enjoy trying a little bit of everything?
Certainly both. I think in the life cycle of a cigar smoker, when you first begin to really enjoy cigars, you tend to develop an interest in one particular cigar above everything else. The one that really captures your palate and you love. And what will often happen is you will end up building up a collection in that particular cigar. So it could be, certainly with Cuban production, age can make a very big difference to the enjoyment of the cigar. So they might search for older examples of that particular cigar and develop a depth to their collection so that they're rotating their stock and smoking something with 3 to 5 years of age versus very, very recent production. And then normally it'll happen, you'll get a little bit of brand and size fatigue. You might want to explore across the same size but into a different blend. Or you might just have had enough, I want to go to a totally different jurisdiction, totally different flavor profile, and that's when people tend to get more exploratory.
Do you keep cigars at home?
I do, although you'd think I'm crazy too, but I do.
And what's in your humidor right now? What do you go to?
I've got a mixture. I've got mostly things that have been gifted to me. It could be regional editions from other countries. Some of my older Cuban Davidoffs. We're very lucky we have a 25th anniversary Davidoff that we produced for our 25th birthday.
Okay.
I still have a couple of boxes of that, and I keep that for very, very special occasions. But also different sizes, different shapes, depending on how I feel. Most of my domestic smoking would happen on a Sunday.
Okay.
So
what is your Sunday smoking ritual?
Deal with the kids first. After lunch, perhaps, if we're outdoors, the weather permits, then I'll have a lovely cigar. Doesn't happen every Sunday. My children are quite young, but sometimes.
Where's your favorite place to smoke? Do you have a balcony or a terrace?
No, outdoors, not at home, but close by.
Okay.
A nearby restaurant. By the way, I've noticed something which is not uncommon. It does happen to cigars. What's happened is, as you've been smoking through, there's been a slightly underfilled section of the cigar. So the flame has gone through and started to light lower down than the rest of the leaf. There is a way to rectify that, and it's I would just burn around it, which seems like a terrible waste of tobacco, but that will normally sort out the problem, and it'll even up again. I'll show you what I would do in this situation. I would just go around that section. It'll involve smoking a slightly strange shape for the next 10-15 minutes, but then it should even up.
Yeah, oftentimes if my cigar is lit uneven, I'll do that, but I've never seen it kind of jump ahead like that.
Yeah, it's thankfully not too common, but it does happen. What I'll do, if you don't mind, Kirby, I'm just going to brush off the ash. I would normally leave that ash on. It's a lovely head of ash. I'll brush that off. Yeah, you can see there's a little hole there. You see? Mm-hmm. And sadly, that does happen. It's a handmade product. That's where it's gone through. If you continue with that,
still smoking well, though.
I hope so. And if you continue with that, it should even up quite nicely. If not, we'll touch it up again.
If you enjoyed this video, give us a thumbs up, and please subscribe to our channel and turn on your notifications by clicking the bell to the right of the subscribe button so that you can learn whenever we release new videos. If you have any questions or comments about anything we discussed on this video, please ask them in the comments section below. And of course, please visit hangerproject.com, where we have the largest, most comprehensive collection of luxury garment care and shoe care accessories in the world, as well as many other incredible products for the well-dressed. And while you are there, subscribe to our newsletter to receive notifications of new product launches, promotions, as well as a weekly digest of all the videos we publish here on our YouTube channel.